All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of We Create Music. I am your host, Vaughan, and today we have an exciting guest, Delicia. Welcome to the show. Great to have you.
Thanks for having me.
No problem at all. Thank you for taking the time to be on the show today.
Sure.
So just tell us about yourself and how you got started in music.
Well, I'm a songwriter, producer. I sing too a little bit. I used to be an artist, I guess, but now my focus is more on songwriting and production. And my relationship with music goes back very far, probably since I was born. But I started learning the piano and stuff like that when I was maybe around 6.
Okay.
Started begging my parents for a keyboard, and they got me one. And then I started taking lessons about maybe 7 or 8. So I've just always been, involved in music in some kind of way. My family's very musical, so it's one of those families where everybody plays instruments, and if you only play one instrument, you're like the weird one. So yeah, just always.
Just always. And she says she sings a little bit. No, she really sings. Really sings. So, okay, so you started music at a young age. So talk about some of the things that you're currently doing with music.
Writing a lot of stuff for pitching, for placement, working on some things for sync licensing. I think it's a little bit of a different, style approach, I guess, on some things when it's for more commercial types things. And working with some indie artists in the Atlanta area. I have a friend whose EP I'm working on, and so, trying to kind of balance it out with a variety of things.
Nice.
And the writing and production side also.
So what are some of the things, so you say you're doing sync licensing and things like that. So what are some of the things that you really need to consider and think about when you're pitching for film and TV and commercials?
The mood, I would say, that it has, and thinking about, for commercials themselves, it's a completely different style of music. It's not necessarily things that would be placed on the radio, and it's a completely different approach for that. But for syncing with maybe TV shows and movies, it's more just about like the mood and the emotion that it creates, I think, and thinking about, okay, if this were to be used in a certain scene or as background music, what kind of feeling are you trying to create, and then just trying to create that feeling through the music. So
okay,
yeah.
So are you like creating full-fledged songs and then kind of maybe trimming them down to say, oh, this kind of fits that particular mood, or is there a certain way that you have to create the song in order for it to fit that type of feeling or mood?
I don't know. I don't really know. I guess I don't think about it in those terms, I guess. Sometimes I'm writing a full song and sometimes it's instrumental. It really depends on what they're asking for. So I guess it's more directive based on what they actually want.
Okay.
In every company or channel or publishing, music supervisor, everybody's different in the way they ask for things. So it just depends.
So how does somebody even get involved in doing that as far as writing music for film and TV and commercials?
Just building relationships with the people that are submitting to those music supervisors, and TV channels. Like people like iStandard is a great group to be involved with, and they do a lot of that kind of stuff. So I guess it's just relationship building with the people that are making those placements. Music supervisors are great ones to to build with. But yeah,
especially if you get into film and TV and commercials. Yes, they are.
Yeah. So it's just a process of getting to know people and submitting music to them and just
and hoping,
crossing your fingers that they like something you submitted.
That's good.
So I try to just not think about that part because you can't really get caught up in that. You have to just keep working and put it out there, and then when you hear back on something and it's a go, you're like, oh, great.
So do you kind of submit the same material to different types of music supervisors, or?
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay.
Just depends on, again, what fits for what they're looking for.
Okay.
Yeah.
So talk about the EP that you're working on.
It is.
If you can talk about it.
Well, I can talk a little bit about it. It's with an artist named Kat on the Move, and she's working on some singles to start, and then it'll sort of morph into an EP when it gets to that point. But it's some exciting stuff. She's Dominican, and so there'll be a lot of different flavors going on.
Different flavors.
I'm excited about it. Yeah.
Sounds exciting. Yeah. So, how's that process been working with her through that and creating this body of work?
Fun.
I bet.
A lot of fun. Oh, I love tropical rhythms and Afrobeat and reggaeton and all that stuff. I listen to it a lot. So, it kind of tends to influence my production probably in a lot of ways. Even like if I'm just making pop, it kind of creeps in there. So it's fun to work on something that I can just totally do that all the way. Yeah.
Okay. So you started off as in music in general. And so I guess the question is, do you still perform and sing and things like that? Put out your own material?
I mean, not as much. Like, and we've done a song together. And
Yes, we have. It is called Where You Belong. It is on all streaming platforms. It is on Amazon, iTunes. It's on everywhere. It's an amazing song. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I get on a case-by-case basis, I guess I do. And actually, I'm rocking my girl London's shirt.
Uh-oh.
I have a song on her EP and worked on some stuff with her for that. So it's just kind of like, if something pops up and it's something I want to be involved in, then it's like, yeah, go ahead and do it. But that's just not really my focus, I guess.
Okay.
And I'm not really performing anywhere right now. I've kind of let that go.
Oh, no. I mean, you have such an amazing talent, an amazing voice.
Thank you.
That, once people hear, and if they haven't heard, yeah, she has an amazing, amazing voice. So hopefully we can work on more things in the future. But yeah.
I mean, as it relates to licensing and stuff, I'm fine with, placing things and stuff. There's not really a whole lot of pressure to be performing those songs when it's for licensing. So it's not like, putting a song out and then having to work the circuit to promote it. So that is a different life.
So do you find it easier to kind of do the whole production side versus the performing side and the artistry?
I don't know that it's easier. It's just a different kind of work. A different type of pressure. So yeah, it's just translates in a different way, but it's not necessarily easier. But I like the freedom of it, I guess. Okay. And the ability to just sort of write in any genre or do anything and not have to think about it in terms of, well, would I do this as an artist? Probably not. But I still want to be able to make those kind of songs and write, whatever I want to write without having a framework to sort of stick to or whatever. Okay. Yeah.
So are you originally from Atlanta?
No, I was born in New York, upstate, Syracuse, but I've lived here most of my whole life. Okay. Moved here when I was young.
Very young.
So, yeah. I guess I'm kind of a hybrid, but most of my New York family probably thinks I'm not New York, and people in the South probably think I'm not Southern.
Not Southern. So. Yeah, I mean, most of us are transplants into Atlanta. So how'd you get involved in the whole music scene here in Atlanta?
I mean, I guess I've always been on some level, but just go to showcases, and once you start going to anything, you just meet people, and there's such a great community here that it's kind of hard not to build with people if you're if you're out and about at anything that's music related. Yeah, that's true. You're going to meet people that are trying to do the same thing you are. So yeah, it's a great community. Atlanta's a great town.
It's a great town. Yeah, I've enjoyed the year and a half that we've been here.
Yeah,
So
you're fresh.
I'm still fresh and new to Atlanta.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the challenges that you faced within the music industry that you think people need to consider?
Well, first of all, being a female, trying to do what I do has been interesting, to say the least. I think that in itself just sort of presents a little bit of a challenge that you have to deal with, because sometimes people just don't, really think women can produce or do certain things. And there's a lot of us.
There's a lot.
There's a lot.
Yes. They're dope.
Yeah, and in Atlanta and all over, really, engineers and everything, more than you'd realize. So yeah, that's just one thing. But like in general, I guess for me, it's probably having creative blocks sometimes, or just feeling like just don't have it today, or sometimes it's just not whatever channels are communicating with you are just not communicating, and you just don't have it, and you have to kind of let that be okay and not feel like, gee, I need to be creating, like what's wrong with me, or you just have to kind of take a break.
You gotta take. That was funny. We were talking about that in another conversation I had earlier. There's times when you need to take a break for yourself.
Yeah, I think taking care of yourself is an undervalued thing sometimes, because there's a lot of pressure to sort of, just hustle and work hard and do what you have to do. But like, you hear a lot of times people say, "Oh, I only sleep 3 hours or 4 hours." I do not believe in that.
No, I do not subscribe to that.
I need
theory.
sleep. My body needs sleep. I need, my brain needs to recuperate and all that stuff. And I feel like if you don't take care of yourself, you're kind of eventually going to notice cracks in the in the seams or whatever So yeah, you have to make that a priority.
You have to make that a priority. Like, how can you put all this effort and work into things, and then you not take care of yourself, and then the things that you are expecting to reap from it, you really can't enjoy because you're sick, or you're bedridden, or you're not here anymore, because you subscribe to that, real hustlers don't sleep. If you do go to sleep, you go to sleep at 3 and you wake up at 6, and it's like, no, I don't subscribe to that. No. I got a wife, and I got kids, and I got grandkids that I want to see, and I just want to outlive everybody. So
yeah, and be healthy, and like health is really important, and the older you get, you realize that more and more, and just that's a valuable thing to have is your health. So if you don't have that, what's the point?
Yeah, what's the point? That's right.
If you're not healthy. Plus, I think it just refreshes you creatively to kind of take a step back and move away from things, and and then come back to it.
Yeah. I mean, there's multiple things that can be done. You can go for a walk. You can go into nature. You can read. You can meditate. You could pray. You could enjoy family time. There's a lot of things you can do to take a break that helps you to reconnect yourself, which does lend itself back to being more creative. Because if you just all the time, you're going to burn yourself out, and that's not a good thing.
Yep, absolutely.
So how have you dealt with, so you brought it up, it was a question I was going to ask, but since you already stated it, of being a female within a male-dominated industry. And what were some of the things that you've kind of done to maneuver yourself through this music thing?
There's a lot of angles to take on that. It's a lot of things. I think just working with men in general, first off, there's certain dynamics that you have to be aware of in situations. And if somebody makes you feel uncomfortable in a certain kind of way, or turns it into a situation where they're making, advances to you or whatever like that, it's something you just have to be aware that that's something you're going to have to deal with. So you have to learn how to kind of navigate and not let it be something that either could hinder the relationship, because that could happen, or, just have it be kind of a non-issue in the first place. And that has a lot to do with just how you carry yourself in a situation and how you present yourself and all of those types of things. So nobody wants to have to deal with that in the workplace. But yeah, most of the people I work with, that's, not that it's not happened to me, but I don't continue working with people that make me feel uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah.
So everybody that I'm involved with is respectful and cool, and that's never like an issue. They're like my brothers. They're not, and I think when somebody respects you, they treat you with respect, and that's important to remember, that if you feel uncomfortable in a situation, it's not wrong or it's not bad to remove yourself from that.
Absolutely.
And
that's
you don't have to feel like, oh, gee, maybe I shouldn't react a certain way or have these feelings because this person is a certain person or whatever, may make you feel pressure to do a certain thing, but it's not wrong to make sure that you're comfortable.
Yeah, that's never okay for those type of things to happen.
And as far as the creative side, I think you just have to be dope so that people just consider what you're doing, and it's a non-issue really that you're a female. It's just if you just make dope stuff, then people want to work with you.
Yeah. So. I've seen somebody post that up. Miss Madley, she posted something up about being a female within the music industry and how people put labels. Is like, you're not a male producer.
Right.
So they're like, oh, we got female producers. Well, why can't they just be producers like everybody else, or engineers like everybody else? So there's always that stigma.
Yeah, probably because just statistically there's not as many of us, so it's like, ooh, we have to distinguish you in some way. But yeah, it's kind of silly. I'm sure that'll change. The more and more women producers will be, successful.
Yeah, and there's a lot. When I say there's a lot, I mean there's a ton that people don't know about, and yeah, it's just amazing. Yeah.
We're there.
They're there. Gotta check them out. They're dope. There, y'all. They are dope. So good. So, what advice would you give somebody coming into this music industry?
Don't get in this music industry. No, for real though, like, don't get in it unless you just feel like you have to, because as a business, it's probably not the greatest business that ever was. So, like, if you could be happy starting your own business or doing something else, do it, and just make music because you love it. But really, I think most people that are trying to make a living or trying to be successful in this industry are doing it because they don't feel like they have a choice to do anything else, and so you're kind of compelled to do it. So if that's the case, then bust ass.
That's right.
Get good at your craft and learn, and just don't stop working. And take feedback with a grain of salt, because it's good to hear people's opinion, and you need people's opinion, you need critique, and you need to apply that critique, but you also need to know when to not take what someone says too deeply or too like, you can't let it move you like this, otherwise you'll just be like blowing in the wind every which way. Like, you need to have a grounding in what you're doing and confidence in yourself enough to know that if somebody's like, oh, that's just trash or whatever, like, you can't let that be like, well, I guess I'm trash. Like, you have to just keep going.
Yeah. A friend of mine, Greg Smith, I asked him something one day, and he said, hey, opinions are like noses. Everybody's got one. I was like, yep, that's absolutely true. So, but, I guess that's kind of difficult, because what if the person that's giving me feedback is the person that I kind of admire and looking up to, and they give me this crushing feedback? Then that kind of demoralizes my ability to continue to pursue this whole music career.
Yeah, it definitely can. You can't put too much stock though in people's opinions. So I guess that's what it boils down to. Like, you can't care that much what people think. You have to just have the right balance of caring what people think and not caring what people think. But I guess it's just, again, knowing and being honest with yourself maybe on what you need to improve. I think everybody probably knows their own weaknesses and where in the areas that that they really need to improve. So if somebody, for example, comes along and critiques my mix, I know that mixing is not my strong point, so I'm apt to probably listen to what they have to say because they're probably right, and I'm gonna really listen to that. But if it's maybe something else, I may
like singing.
I may. Wow. Okay. Yeah. It's like, well, your voice is awful. I'm like, okay, well, that's just gonna go right over because I don't believe that. So
Don't listen to that.
And some things are just so subjective. I mean, it's just one person can think something's great and somebody else could think it's trash. And that's happened many, many times when I've submitted songs to people and one A&R or somebody might be like, well, the hook's not that strong. This is a pass for me. And then I play it for somebody else and they're like, man, that hook, so it's subjective.
See, that's the thing that kills me is the subjectivity of music. Is everybody will find something that they like or don't like with it. And it's like,
it's like food.
It's just
you like some people.
You like it. You like squash or you don't.
Right. And that's not bad. It's not wrong.
It's not wrong.
And both people are right.
Right.
So I mean, some people love a certain artist, and some people can't stand to hear that person's voice. So, and they're both entitled to feel that way. So that's why there's something for everybody.
Right. Something for
everything's not for everybody.
That's right.
So
good. Everything is not for. Everything is not for everybody. So don't allow people's opinions to deter you from accomplishing the things that you want. Listen to people, of course, but take it with a grain of salt as well.
Right. And just, I mean, you have to be real and you have to be honest with yourself. Like, it's like watching some of these American Idol auditions, not to like reference that show, but some of these people have no business, trying to make it in this industry, and somebody's been lying to them, telling them you have talent or whatever. So you have to be able to be real with yourself. Like, is this really for you? Do you really have talent? And people are going to confirm that for you if you're putting yourself out there, which is vulnerable to do, but you have to do. So, I mean, if everybody's consistently telling you that what you're doing is just not good, then you might need to listen to that.
Yeah.
So, just be real.
But do you think that is the standard today? The talent?
No, everybody's got talent. Well, not everybody, but a lot of people have talent. That's not...
I would agree with that.
That's not what determines if you're going to make it or not. It's so much more other things than that. Okay. So, yeah.
Yeah, 'cause I know people with amazing talent that aren't in the places where they maybe should be. And I know people with...
Not that much talent.
But because they were consistent, they put in the work and the effort, they hustled, they grinded, they did what they needed to do. They're in places that they're in, and they have the level where they currently are, but their talent isn't.
Right. Well, there's something to be said for that. And again, that's where it comes down to relationships, I think. So, I mean, if you have the connections with the right people that believe in what you're doing, you maybe don't have to have the most talent because they're going to, you're going to be going down the pathways that are going to lead you to the right places you need to go. And then if you're putting in the work in whatever, then that's what's going to get you there. So it's more about relationships and connections really than anything else, I think. So I don't want to say that talent is secondary, but it almost is.
It almost is secondary. At least
because there's so many people that have talent.
Yeah.
So that's not the precursor or whatever you want to call it. That's... Yeah.
It Because you can have all the talent, but if you don't put in the work,
right? Or if you're just, if you're sitting in your studio all the time, or wherever you create,
mm-hmm.
and you're not putting yourself out there, who's gonna know anything
mm-hmm.
about what you're doing?
Yeah.
So it's a balance of a lot of things,
yeah.
I think.
Balance of a lot of things.
Balance, the key to life.
Balance,
something I'm still trying to achieve.
Yes, aren't we all? Aren't we all? And the biggest thing is, even for those who will be watching, is when getting into this music, make sure you understand the business side of it. There's so many things that you need to consider, which is why I do believe, yes, talent will get you there, but it is going to take a lot of other things to keep you there. If you don't know anything about the music business and how to speak the language, I think it's just,
Absolutely.
You're going to do great, and then after a while, just...
And publishing is confusing, and lots of things about how all of that stuff works, and mechanical versus performance and all that stuff. I mean, it's confusing, but there are resources out there if you seek them out that can help you learn and stuff. You just have to, again, seek it out, put the effort in. It's not gonna fall in your lap.
That's right. So I do want to talk about, even though I know it's not. Well, we'll see. You may be able to explain that, but I know you do voiceovers.
Yeah. I
do. I might have to get a voiceover or something. But I do know you do voiceovers for organizations and things like that. So how did you get involved in doing that type of work?
Just out of seeking another stream of income that I could make doing something creative and make use of my studio. And the fact that I already knew how to, record and edit really well and have a quality product. So that part was already, I didn't have to learn that. And I've always kind of just enjoyed doing voices and that kind of stuff for fun. That's just my personality. If you know me at all, you know I'm a little crazy. So, it kind of started that. I was like, gee, it would be great if I could just kind of do that. So I just started researching it, and it's really a lot more, I don't want to say boring projects, but I don't get to do cartoonish type voices as often as I would like. That's the more enjoyable stuff. But you have to balance it out with things that pay you, frankly.
I understand that.
So, but I try to look at it all as a character, because corporate lady is very different than how I normally talk. Yeah. So when she comes out, it's very different.
Because they're looking for whatever they're needing for whatever's their corporate videos and presentations, or they're doing e-learnings and things like that. So, they do need that corporate.
Yeah, everybody has a different sort of casting requirement, but that's essentially what it is. I mean, you're being cast in a role, and you have to play that role, whatever it may be, and every company or whatever is looking for something different. So it kind of depends on if it's a commercial or if it's, you just have a different approach with how you talk and stuff like that. So everybody's different. Some companies want that super corporate sounding lady, and some people want natural, just natural talking, which is harder than it sounds. When you're in there recording, it's really easy to get to sound like you're reading off a page, and they don't want that. So you have to kind of find a balance between natural speech that's still clear and well enunciated and all of those things without sounding robotic and or too much like a narrator or something. Yeah. So there's a lot of different styles.
Yeah. So do you do voiceovers for like producer tags?
I have done.
So all of you producers out there who need producer tags, that's where you can go, right here.
Yeah. That's
right. So where can people find you?
All my social media is just my name, which is Dalicia LaFleur, and that's spelled Dalicia. And once you start typing that, you'll see me. So yeah.
Well, good. Well, it was great to have you on the show today.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for stopping by and being here and sharing your experience.
It was a pleasure.
Great. Thank you. It was a pleasure.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. All right. That's a wrap.